The Adventures of Batman with Robin, Boy Wonder. Batman and Robin, dynamic duo against crime and corruption, whose real identities as millionaire philanthropist Bruce Wayne and his young ward Dick Grayson are known only to Alfred, the faithful butler. Ever alert, they respond swiftly to a signal from the police, and moments later, from the secret Batcave deep beneath Wayne Manor, they roar out to protect life, limb, and property as Batman and Robin, Cape Crime Fighters. Batman and Robin, scourge of Gotham City's kooky criminals. The Joker, clown prince of crime. The Penguin, pudgy purveyor of perfidy. And the cool, cruel Mr. Freeze. Watch out, villains. Here come Batman and Robin.
Welcome back, citizens, to an all-new episode of the Batcave Podcast. It's your old bat chum, John Estrew here, and we're continuing our look at the 1969 Batman cartoon series from Filmation that aired on CBS. And joining me in this look at this show that, I feel definitely wears some of the Batman 66 TV show on its sleeve is Mr. Dan Greenfield from 13thdimension.com. Hey, Dan.
Hi, John.
So, the first episode, we went a little long there because we were setting up introduction and such. Many of these other episodes aren't going to be as long, but I actually do want to take a moment before we get into this episode to talk about another element from the series that, stands out to me is the opening credits.
Yes.
I love them, and I also don't love them. I mean,
what's not to like? Let me ask you that.
It's okay, and this is going to sound weird. Maybe it's the flashing lights, the colors, the strobe.
Well, that's not a matter of taste. That actually could be a matter of the way your brain works.
Well, that's what I'm thinking.
No, I'm not kidding. I mean, if there was the stories from years ago when with the Pokemon cartoons were giving kids epileptic seizures because of the strobe effect. Kids who they didn't realize had that possibility, so it can actually hurt your eyes. It can be a little unsettling, and I admit that it definitely feels a little bit weird, but I don't think it's a matter of taste. I think it's just a matter of, I think it actually might be a physical reaction. Not like I'm a doctor or a neurologist or anything, but that might be part of it. Because other than that, I think it's awesome.
No, other than that, it is awesome, and I love the theme song.
Yeah. You can actually get the theme song on iTunes. You can download it. Yeah. It's when DC a few years they've now done it twice. When they did their 75th anniversary, they did something called the Music of DC Comics, and in that it's like all the theme song, not all actually, but a lot of the theme songs from their TV shows and movies. So they would have all of the Filmation theme songs are on there complete with the narration. So you actually hear, like, for example, the Teen Titans, you hear Ted Knight going, "The Teen Titans," and all of that. Or Hawkman, or Carter Hall, blah, blah, blah. All that kind of stuff. And it's great. And one of them is the Batman 69 theme song that you can get with the narration. And also there is a website that is called TV Theme Music or TelevisionTunes.com, where they've uploaded musical cuts. So you actually can get the music for the end credits also. And that doesn't cost you anything. That's just whether or not you want to upload it. But you can get the music at the end, which is basically the same music but an extended cut and without any of the narration. So that's pretty cool.
That is very cool. And you mentioned the narration, and we talked about Ted Knight briefly last week as well. And there was something else that caught me as I'm listening to Ted Knight. Now, he wasn't doing in any sort of way a William Dozier impression at all. And yet, there are moments of intonation, certain things that I'd say, Dozier would attack those words the exact same way.
Someone, I think, referred to William Dozier's narration as unctuous. And I think it's a pretty good description because it is, there is kind of a haughtiness to it. And of course, Ted Knight, that was his voice, was haughty, which is why he played Ted Baxter so well. And the judge in Caddyshack, and even that other show that he did, with I forget the name of it, but
Too Close for Comfort.
Thank you, Too Close for Comfort, where he always played that kind of well, that was always we're waiting. Yeah, he's great. God, he's great. When Mary Tyler Moore died recently, we watched a bunch of episodes, and as a kid, he used to drive me crazy. But as an adult, oh my God, was he funny? Yeah. Incredibly funny.
Yeah.
Great.
I always thought it was sad too because he did the first season of the Super Friends. He did the voice. He was the narrator for that, and then he was gone.
Yeah, well, he had a job.
He had a job. Yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't feel too bad for him. He won Emmys as Ted Baxter during that time in his life. I don't think he was sitting there pining about whether or not he was doing narration work for Super Friends. Chances are he didn't. He felt like he either didn't need to or didn't want to.
Yeah.
Although I will say again, to go back to, as I'd mentioned in the previous episode, the Filmation book has some great Ted Knight stuff in it because he was friends with Lou Scheimer. And that's how he ended up getting a lot of the voice work. And how actually when Scheimer was looking, because before they got the DC stuff, before they got Superman, the company was on its last legs. It was falling apart. And Superman saved them. And it actually launched them into a whole new wave of success because of the success of the Superman cartoon. And without that, we never would have gotten Batman. So I mention it because what they did at one point when I think the people from CBS were going to be coming in from the East Coast because they were in California, and they wanted to make it look like they had a bigger staff. They were like, we only have a few people here. If they come in here, they're going to think we're this slipshod operation, which we are. We have to do something. So the way Scheimer explains it, they anybody they could, they knew. They basically had them behind desks, made it look like that they were working, so that when the CBS executives came in, they would think, oh, this is, a real shop. And Ted Knight, he called upon to be a part of this. And apparently Ted Knight, as he was acting almost like Ted Baxter. He was walking around the place and using his voice and acting like this was making the place seem like it was this big, important place. And he said he even had to pull him aside and say, tone it down. You're overdoing it.
Wow. Yeah, I'd heard that story myself too.
Yeah, great.
But you're right. I mean, he certainly went on to bigger and better things. It's just that was a piece of my childhood. Then when the new Super Friends started, and you're going, that's not Ted Knight. Yeah. Kind of, like I said, like the last episode, the disappointment when, and I know it sounds weird, the disappointment when I heard Adam West on the Super Friends. I'm like that's not Olan Sule.
Right.
The Fountains of Gotham City Music Hall. A perfect place to cool off on a hot day and relax with an ice cream. But what's this? An ice cream man from outer space? Now at the Gotham City Waterworks, the reservoir becomes an ice rink. Suddenly, Gotham City has gone dry. And while the City Hall switchboard is clogged with complaints, at stately Wayne Manor, millionaire Bruce Wayne and his ward Dick Grayson, the real-life identities of Batman and Robin, finish their workout.
Am I Hey, Bruce, we better get the plumber.
No, Dick. We'd better get to the Batmobile. Let's go, John.
Moments later, the Batmobile roars out from the secret Batcave to Police Commissioner Gordon's office.
Reservoir? Frozen?
Yes, on a 90-degree day. Yes?
Commissioner, there are icebergs in Gotham Harbor.
What? Icebergs in Gotham Harbor?
Guess who?
Of course. The frigid, fiendish,
Cool, cruel.
Mr. Freeze. See you later, Commissioner.
So let's get into these stories here. The first one, the two-parter, is called The Cool, Cruel Mr. Freeze, as Ted Knight would intone in every opening of the episodes of Batman there. Written again by Dennis Marks. I don't know, was it pretty much that way? Dennis Marks did the two-parters and George Cashin did the one-parter, or?
I don't know.
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
We'll see as we go along here. It aired on September 20th, 1969. The episode opens with Mr. Freeze announcing his arrival in Gotham City by freezing the waterworks around the city.
Where have I seen that before?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, for that matter, Did Mr. Freeze make any comic book appearances between 66 and 69?
Yes,
did.
I'd
Okay.
have to look up the exact. It was an issue of Detective Comics. We'll keep talking. I'll look it up.
Okay,
But yes,
because he was just I'm
did.
just thinking in terms of like, he's back, and this is definitely something because Batman 66 created Mr. Freeze out of Mr. Zero.
Yes, yeah. Mr. Zero was a one-off villain, and then they changed the name. In fact, I saw something recently where there was even a reference to Mr. Zero on some documents, and where they originally were going to use the name, and they changed it to Mr. Freeze, which is a better name, and they changed his look and everything, and really made him the character that we know today. The combination of what they did on the TV show and what they did in Batman the Animated Series really made Mr. Freeze a much more than the one-off he was originally, he originally was, wearing a purple and, because this is what you think of when you think of an icy villain. He was wearing a purple and green outfit, as villains tend to do in the DC universe. There was definitely one right around this time that he was in an issue of Detective Comics. But anyway, go on with what you were saying. Which, by the way, on the bat signal, I like that it has a sound effect.
Yeah.
Did you ever notice that? Yeah, it beeps like the bat phone.
It beeps like the bat phone. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the phone. Well, I don't know if we ever do see I mean, they were using the phone, but I don't know if we ever see it beeping, and he picks it up in the series. I don't. In the episodes I've seen so far, that hasn't happened.
Right.
Yeah. But they get to Gordon's office, and they learn of the icebergs that are forming in Gotham Harbor from Lou Scheimer.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
I'll go back. It was Detective Comics number 373 in March, cover dated March 68, which means that it came out at the end of 67, early 68.
Okay. So then, yeah, I mean, it's not like they were taking, at that point, it's not like they were picking up the story or anything like that from the 66 series. You could argue, he was in the comics.
No, but the character was, I mean, kids loved Mr. Freeze on the TV show.
Sure.
I mean, they that elevated him into. I mean, I think he would have even been the Big Four would have been the Big Five, if not for two things. One, the fact that when they did the movie, they had the Big Four. But you could definitely say that Mr. Freeze was the next villain on the list. I think what made it a little weirder was the fact that there were three different actors who played him on the TV show.
Right.
So I think that kind of changed things, and everybody had their different ones. But then putting him in the cartoon only goes to follow because they were popular episodes.
Right. Okay.
So I'm sorry. Anyway, you were saying.
No. Yeah, but like Lou Scheimer did a lot of the voices in his Filmation cartoons. He was doing voices as well in the 70s. He was Batmite.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. For better or for worse.
Yeah. Worse.
So it all makes sense now to Batman. He knows that, Mr. Freeze is back in town. We get another reverse R shot in Gordon's office.
Yeah, Gordon's interesting too because they obviously they went out of their way not to make him look like Neil Hamilton by giving him brown hair.
Right.
But he didn't have the mustache, and I mean, they could have gone like the comic book where at the time he was white hair, white mustache, or gray hair, gray mustache. His mannerisms are very Neil Hamilton.
Yeah.
The way he holds his hands, his voice is similar to Neil Hamilton's. His intonations are similar to Neil Hamilton's, but they give him brown hair. So this is one of those areas where I think rather than going the comic, they definitely had Neil Hamilton in mind, but they couldn't use Neil Hamilton, so they didn't give him gray hair and create any. And they gave him glasses too. I mean, Neil Hamilton occasionally wore glasses that look like that, but mostly you didn't see him with glasses. So this Gordon is kind of a pastiche.
Yeah. So Freeze is over at the dock, and he's freezing dock workers and guards and police alike. And Batman and Robin arrive, and I love this because as they're arriving, we get a bat turn. He even says, hold on, bat turn.
Petrified policeman!
Stand by for 180-degree bat turn. Now.
Yes. Yeah. No, I noticed that too, and And again, they also pull the same stunt as they pulled in the previous episode where the Penguin, where they used the afterburners to melt something.
Right.
That would have killed them. Of course, the whole thing is ridiculous. I can't believe I'm saying this, but yeah, it's something that I noticed also. I'm like, well, that really would probably hurt them, but okay. Also, have you noticed now? I can't be 100% sure that when the Batmobile screeches, we talked in the last episode about the musical library, but the sound effect of the Batmobile, not when it's running, because that's a different sound, but when it screeches to a halt, sounds like it might be the same sound effect that they used in '66. A couple of times my ears went up when I was listening.
Full throttle bat power.
Where to now, Batman?
To the only water left in town.
The aquarium?
Check.
Because as I always like to say, the Batmobile sound effect is also used in Planet of the Apes as the Icarus as it's flying into the water.
Right.
You can hear, and you can even hear the wheels screeching. If you listen carefully, you can actually hear it in the sound effect in Planet of the Apes, which of course makes me laugh because the tires are not screeching on the Icarus. But here I think that whenever it comes to a halt, it has that same sound when the Batmobile screeches in the live action show. For what that's worth.
I'd have to go back and check that. I didn't pick it up.
Next time.
What's that?
You'll hear it a ton of times throughout the series. So just keep your ears open. And let me know what you think.
Yeah, but to me, it just gave me joy to just see a bat turn in general.
Yeah, sure, of course. Yeah.
So they rescue the frozen people, like you said, should be dead, but whatever. Okay, we're good with it. And they decide to go to the one place because Freeze is gone. There's only one place left in Gotham City with any water, and that's the aquarium. And sure enough, he's there stealing a whale from a tank by freezing all the water in the tank and airlifting it out.
I could not figure out why in the world he thought to go to the aquarium. Why I just couldn't get my head around the logic of that move. Like why would you be looking for the only unfrozen water in Gotham to think that Mr. Freeze might be there? There's the idea being that if that's the only place that's left unfrozen, maybe I missed something in part of the dialogue. But I was thinking to myself, it wasn't even just Gotham City logic. I was like, okay, I don't know how you're getting from point A to point B, but let's roll with it.
I that's what I would imagine is it's just one of these things where it's like, okay, he's hit every other place. What's left? Let's beat him there, and maybe we can jump him when he arrives or whatever. Because there's nothing to say that that's where he was going next.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But okay.
But anyway, the duo arrive. They chase after the ice cream truck that Mr. Freeze is in that's getting away. Freeze freezes the road. And the Batmobile goes out of control off a bridge over the side. Yeah. And I love this. They engage the parachute pontoons.
Yes. Yeah. This is, again, the kind of thing that would have been right out of 1966 if they had the budget. I love it. It's it's inventive and funny. And of course the bad. And when they were going down, this is a classic Burt Ward turning to Batman and saying, yeah, it's a good thing we just tested this out, Batman, or tested out these safety measures. Yeah, you're right, Robin. It's a good thing. That is like, yes, there you go. Right on.
Then we cut to Mr. Freeze's hideout, where he is demanding $1 billion in gold or he will freeze the entire city. So Batman tells Gordon he will convince Bruce Wayne to get hold of the gold because he's the only man. So I guess millionaire Bruce Wayne is now a billionaire.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that too. And I also thought, because whenever I think of when I think of ransom amounts, I can't help it from this time period think of Austin Powers. Yeah. And Dr. Evil wanting $1 million. And I thought, all right, $1 billion, that makes sense. $1 billion is something. And I think they did that on the TV show too. I think at one point they asked for $1 billion and they were scrambling because same thing. It was one of the Mr. Freeze episodes where he held the city ransom for, I'm gonna turn the place into a frozen wasteland unless you pay me X amount. And that's actually why I did not care for this episode as much as some of the others. I always like seeing Mr. Freeze, but I'm not crazy about this Mr. Freeze. He's a little too thuggish for me. He doesn't have the style of the TV show Mr. Freeze, and maybe it's because they didn't play him with a German accent, or maybe it's because they didn't play him, pardon the phrase, cool. Like George Sanders is so great on the TV show, and Otto Preminger had that great look, even if the character was a little bit more over the top. And Eli Wallach was okay. Yeah, he was fine. To me, he will forever be the third Mr. Freeze, although I love Eli Wallach. Here, he's just kind of a thug in a helmet, and it's not as. I mean, I always like Mr. Freeze, but there's something off about the way that they approach this character that I just didn't love. And the fact that there's so many elements in this particular. First off, I find this episode to be slow. I also find that the shtick is not new. They're not bringing anything new to the table here. This is stuff we've seen before and done much more entertainingly on the live-action show.
Now, that's interesting, because I get what you're saying, and I agree with you about the whole, he's not as nuanced, he's not as cultured. But I overall, to me, he didn't stand out. It was the story itself that I actually liked, the way it was all executed and stuff. When you said slow, I'm like thinking, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, well, as we go through it here, there was something about when I was watching it, I just felt, maybe it was because I felt it was repetitive. I felt like, okay, let's go. Keep going. Keep moving. Let's get to the punchline. Pardon the phrase.
Okay. All right.
But anyway, here we go.
Well, here we go, and we keep moving. We get a scene, and I could see this in the 66 series, Bruce Wayne in front of the Board of Trustees, which I wish we had at some point. I mean, he's always talking about the trustee meeting, this, that, the other thing. All that, anytime he had to move any money to help out, it was always done off screen. Here we get to see a scene with the Board of Trustees.
I ask you to convert my entire fortune, gentlemen, into gold bullion to save Gotham City.
But Bruce, if Batman can't stop Mr. Freeze, you'll be broke, wiped out.
True, but I'm betting on Batman to catch Mr. Freeze.
We get back to the dock area where the gold is being taken out on a barge.
All right, everybody, freeze!
Now!
Batman and Robin, alive!
And kicking.
Robin is captured by Mr. Freeze, and Batman has to chase after them in the Batmobile. He then comes upon 3 ice cream trucks, which is a ruse we've seen in the 66 series as well.
Yes.
Which one is which?
How can I tell which one Robin's in?
But Robin has his homing device on.
Good old Robin. He's activated his utility belt homing signal.
And I like this. He races past the correct van, then uses the bat chute to slow down.
He went right by us.
Yes.
So it's the first time
those elements.
Yep.
Where's Robin?
Here, Batman. I just thought out. But Mr. Freeze flew the coop when we turned the corner.
Uh-oh. The gold. He must have gone back for it. Quick, to the Batboat.
But the barge suddenly explodes, sinking the gold.
Right. But we get the Batboat.
She's heading into the fog.
Which, again, is not the same one, but it's very similar.
The barge has completely disappeared.
The whole Wayne fortune. Oh, sunk to the bottom, Batman. Why?
I think I know, Robin. And you can bet we'll get it back. Now, to the Batcave.
$1 billion in gold, sunk to the bottom. But the Cape Crusader seems confident he'll recover it. What does he know? What will he do? Don't miss the exciting climax. Coming up next.
Meet Major Matt Mason, Mattel's man in space and the bravest astronaut yet. He lives on the moon. We may all be there soon. And he gets around with a jet. Until Sergeant Storm in his red uniform, Major Matt worked all alone. Now, together, they face the dangers of space and seek to learn the unknown. The machines that they drive seem almost alive as they transport the adventurous pair. The new Astrotrack whips through the black, and Firebolt even goes where they meet Captain Laser, his space gear ablaze with energy stored from the stars. He's a giant, it's true, but a friendly one who spent his boyhood on Mars. An exciting place, the world of space, as all the astronauts know. This world is swell. It's made by Mattel. With it, how far can you go?
Icebergs in Gotham Harbor. The city threatened by that sub-zero Satan, Mr. Freeze. Bruce Wayne offers $1 billion in gold, and it vanishes. Or did it? Wait, what's this? Mr. Freeze's stolen whale? Which leads the frigid wizard to the gold.
He found it for us. I see. Freeze our assets now.
He freezes his, and I did like this. He freezes his assets.
Yes.
The little play there.
Yes, it's good.
Yeah. We cut back to the Batcave, the Bat computer. Once again, and this is like third season now. This is the only thing. The Bat computer is doing all the figuring out with all this stuff.
Yeah.
He figures out Freeze's plan.
Yeah, it's shorthand. I mean,
yeah,
it is for the I think in both cases it was shorthand because in this episode in the third season, of course, they only had a half hour to work with, so some of the storytelling had to be truncated. So the Bat computer took on greater importance as far as solving the crime, but also it made it even more slapsticky. Like in Surf's Up, Joker's Under, where they even make it a whole plot point where it spits out a picture of two naked feet, and then they have to figure out figure out what does this mean, and as a way of introducing a hokey or silly element to the story. Here it's again they've got it's not even that they have a full half hour. They've got basically 2 8-minute segments or whatever it is, because I think it's 8, 8, and 8.
Right.
They really have to make things go along. So if they want to figure something out, go to the Bat computer, and the Bat computer, with its boundless knowledge, just spits out the answer.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, and we get to see Alfred for the first time.
Yes. Ted Knight with a British accent.
Yeah.
But again, this is one that now he's just taken straight from the comics. I mean, there's no, unlike Gordon, which was, like I said, was kind of a pastiche. He is Alfred from the comic books. That's what Alfred, has historically been drawn like, with the mustache and with the balding, his balding hair pattern and all of that. And it's straight out of the comics. Straight
out of the comics, and yet this was weird. I actually, to me, it still made no sense. Batman decides, now that they know what the plan is with Freeze, all they got to do is figure out where Freeze has the money, the gold that because it's all his fortune there. Yeah, he decides to have set it up so that they can work their way into Freeze's organization by posing as crooks, but they do it by having Alfred steal some jewels that they then allow him to get away.
The only thing that makes any sense at all here is the only good part about this little sequence is that when Alfred does do the crime, and they show him briefly in all red, because I guess either the alarm goes off or whatever, and you just kind of see him skulking away. But none of this makes any sense. This is like, again, it's one of those things that's a total contrivance. And I know, and I said it in the previous episode, this was not written for adults. This was written for children. Yeah. They were not necessarily crossing all their T's and dotting all their I's. In fact, the writing in the comics at the time, and these guys were comic book writers, Cashdan was a comic book editor, took more care in writing those stories than a lot of these episodes. So there's a lot of sloppiness, and this is one of those things. Like, why even bother? You now know what's going on. Just go for it. Yeah. But they're padding the time. And this is also part of what I was saying before, where I thought that the episode was a little slow. It's like, oh, come on, let's just get to it. And they took what could have probably been one of their one segment. Their eight. Is I don't even. Again, to remind your listeners, these were done in three segments. You had the 2-parter and then the 1-parter. This probably could have been a 1-parter, but so be it. They chose to do it this way, but there's a lot of flabbiness, I think, to this episode.
Okay, fair enough. I did like the whole thing really quick, though, because again, they didn't tell Gordon, so in order to cement it, they go
Yes.
to the Gotham Museum and steal some rare paintings right in front of Gordon.
Right. Yeah. None of this makes any sense, and at all. And again, it's not even like that Gotham City logic. It's just none of this makes sense. This is just to keep the thing going, and to try to add an element of tension that has. And again, it always bugged me. I know it was supposed to be. It was played for laughs, but the idea that anybody after all this time would think Batman would instantly turn to crime. This Boy Scout in a cape, it just doesn't work. You know how it's gonna play out. It's writing down to a child who I'm sure has already figured out Batman's not a bad guy, and wouldn't be, and that this was all a ruse, and the idea that he wouldn't even tell Gordon about it.
Okay. I will say next scene made my heart leap because it's brief. It's Freeze's headquarters, and we get the hot and cold corridors.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was first created in that Mr. Zero episode, but it was never done as effectively as it was in the George Sanders, and it is one of my all-time favorite for the entire series. One of my favorite effects was the blue and red, hot and cold in the hideout. Here they don't do it that way. They could have, or maybe they felt they couldn't, but they do play with that idea that his henchmen need warm areas in the lair, and I love that they did it.
Yeah, I agree. We get another Bat computer working out once again what's going to happen next. It determines that Freeze is going to hit a truck carrying gold from the mint. So when Freeze does, stop the truck and such.
Sorry, boys, but we got here first.
Dynamic duo! Freeze!
They get into a bat fight, and they catch Freeze.
If you can break those bat ropes before the cops come, you'll escape.
Meanwhile, we'll have the gold.
Wait a minute. Let's make a deal. Join me. We'll add this gold to what I already have, and together we can be the most powerful criminals in the world.
That's a tempting offer. How about it, Robin?
We accept.
Now,
Yes.
The thing is, they got to get the money back. So, they could have just as easily turned it over. But no, we get this whole twist here where it's like, the police will catch you and we've got the gold. And Freeze says, let's work together.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Freeze shows them where the gold is hidden. But when, when they see it and such, they're on the boats and they see the iceberg that's frozen and such. But Freeze quickly turns the tables. He's not fooled by any of this at all.
Right. Of course not.
Yeah, of course not.
Yeah. The whole thing is just contrived. And again, I know, and as I said, I just said it and I said it in the previous episode, I try not to judge too harshly the writing on these because they were not written for people like you and me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if I'm going to watch them and in a sense, if I'm going to recommend them to your listeners who are listening to these podcasts and maybe they haven't watched these in a long time, if you're not going to download the whole series, I love Mr. Freeze. This episode, there's just not enough for me.
And then he catches them, puts them in the block of ice, puts them on a conveyor belt towards an ice chipper.
Yes. Now that I can live with. That's a good old school Batman trap.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
It wants to turn them into ice cubes. Yeah.
Yeah. They've got thermal units, though, in their utility belts that free them.
Good thing the thermal control unit in our utility belts work, Batman.
Yes, and the remote-controlled Batcopter is on its way.
Yes.
Yeah.
First appearance of the Batcopter.
The Batcopter! But how did they get away?
Now, because of the color scheme, it's a little bit closer to the live-action Batcopter, but nothing looks as good as the live-action Batcopter. But it's great. And again, they have a Batplane, as we've established, and they've got a Batcopter. So that's cool.
Look out! The control panel!
We're headed right for the iceberg!
Looks as if we all die together, eh?
I don't think so.
They lower themselves onto the boat that Freeze is trying to get away on. The boat goes out of control, but...
The whale saved us!
He responded to my ultrasonic frequency.
Yeah, that's a cute bit.
It's a cute bit.
Yeah.
And the ending's a cute... Now, this is interesting, because here's the ending. We're now into the second episode. We didn't get Alfred in the first one, even though he's mentioned in the opening credits. And here we are now at the end of the second episode two-parter. And who's here? Chief O'Hara.
Yes. Yeah. Now that's an invention of the TV show. Yeah. So again, it's a direct connection. This isn't something that they made up, and this, they're like there's if you listen to any of the Power records of the 70s, which also are very, we should do a podcast on those, man. Those are great because those are also very similar to Batman 66. There's an Inspector Mulligan, but there's not a Chief O'Hara. Here, it's Chief O'Hara, and it's Chief O'Hara. Yeah. How they were able to do that without having to deal with any issues with Stafford Rep or any rights issues, I don't know. They probably didn't care. They probably weren't paying attention at that point. But yeah, there he is, Chief O'Hara, our old buddy.
Our old buddy, but here's the thing. He doesn't say a word.
No. But he's there.
He's there. He had his 100,000 wanted posters for Batman and Robin made up.
Yeah. Yeah, he wanted to save his wanted posters a collector's item. Whoa, there's 100,000 of them. Yeah, wah wah. It's cute. It's cute.
I mean, I will give you. You're right. I mean, the portrayal of Freeze and some of the story elements don't work. But to me, I would still say this is like you're going to watch the series, but this is one that you should pay particular attention to just because in terms of how it aired and such, there's a number of firsts here. The first appearance of Alfred, the first appearance of
you're right.
O'Hara, the use of the corridors and stuff. I like I said, it made me because I think he even actually says hot corridor.
Yeah, something like that. And
warm corridor or something.
And as I was watching it, I didn't expect to have the reaction that I did. It's just simply, the thing about these, the quality control in these episodes is very up and down. There are some that really are a lot of fun, some others not as much. This one, I went into it, and I'd seen it fairly recently, I guess, certainly in the last couple of years. But as I was watching it with the idea that we were going to be talking, I was like, man, come on, this is good. This is interminable. So I guess I had a different reaction than you did.
Okay.
Aboard the yacht of a visiting potentate, Batman and Robin arrive to help protect Gotham City's royal guest. Suddenly,
Man overboard! Help! I can't swim! I'll get him, Batman! Easy, fella. Don't fight me.
Grab hold, Robin. I'll pull you in.
a short while later, in the bizarre hideout of Batman's arch enemy, the Joker.
And the boy wonder thought I was really drowning, Joker.
Well, this is the beginning of the end for Batman and Robin.
Well, hopefully you had a better reaction with the next one. I was a little off on it there. The Jokes on Robin by Dennis Smarks.
Yes.
It's just a very odd opening because what it's leading up to, you don't get a feeling for that in this opening at all.
No,
not
at all. It's almost like James Bondian in the fact that you have this opening before the credits that seems completely unrelated to the rest of the plot, and then you find out that it's got a connection to the rest of the plot.
Right. Exactly, yeah. So the police heard a rumor of Joker stealing something from the Gotham Toy Fair.
Yes.
And we see this jewel-encrusted Jack-in-the-Box being displayed, and Joker pops out.
Nobody budge until my associates remove that priceless toy.
The toy stays, Joker.
You're being removed.
The dynamic duo. Clobber them.
They should roll them in the aisle.
Yes. This is a good old-fashioned setup. Very Bill Fingery.
Would you like to take a ride?
With oversized props, with very Batman 66.
Cool it, men!
Good show, Masked Manhunters. Sorry I can't stay for the finale.
I'll take him out, Batman!
Missed by a mile, boy blunder.
And he gets away because
It's out of control!
Robin's Batarang goes out of control when he tries to throw it.
Sorry, Batman. Because of me, the Joker got away.
Forget it, chum. We'll get him next time.
Yeah, Robin messes up.
And in fact, then we're treated to a montage of scenes where Robin messes up every time they're on the verge of catching Joker.
Yeah. Yeah, he just keeps screwing up, that boy wonder. Yeah. He's lost his edge.
He's lost his edge, and of course that sets up this whole... And I don't know, maybe this might have been better as the two-parter, but it's like we cut to Gordon's office, and look who's here. Now, again, another introduction for the second episode, Barbara Gordon.
Barbara Gordon's in the house.
Yeah. Yep. And she's listening in as Robin is talking about, how down he is about always messing everything up, and he stays behind when they get another call about Joker. Batman goes off on his own, but Barbara...
Batman pretty much benches him right here.
Yeah.
He basically says, "You better stay here." He doesn't say you're in my way, but he basically says, "You're in my way. Sit down. Go in the corner. Go think about what you've done. Because I better go this alone. I can't trust you anymore." And Robin is like, "I don't blame you." The whole thing is just so sad.
Yeah.
But then Barbara's like, "Hey, wait a minute. He's going to need a partner."
Yep.
See you back home, Robin.
Got room for another passenger?
Batgirl! Now look here.
Please, Batman, you need an extra hand now.
Good luck, partner.
And so she, shows up as Batgirl suddenly. I mean, it's funny because it's like, this happened in several of the episodes. She changes to Batgirl very quickly.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, that's, she has to, but sure. Well, I think they show her taking off her glasses or whatever they do. And the next thing you know, she's riding down in her Batgirl cycle.
Well, no, it's just, I'm thinking in terms of like, where was the Batgirl cycle? Where was, how far is she from Gordon's office did she have the costume? I know I'm reading way too much into this there. It's just funny because Batman's still outside Gordon's office. He's getting ready to leave when Batgirl pulls up.
In the comics at the time, they actually, when they introduced her, they made a point of showing how quickly she could change to become Batgirl, because she was already wearing the uniform. Like her barrette and her hair was actually her folded up mask that she could take apart and pull down over her face, and her skirt was actually her cape, and that she had her leggings on underneath. I mean, there's actually a sequence that was drawn by Carmine Infantino that shows just how quickly she could change into Batgirl. Now, of course, none of this is shown or even implied on the cartoon, but it is noteworthy in the sense that, and I always thought it was funny anyway, whenever they showed, even Peter Parker over in Spider-Man, whenever he would change, it was under his clothes. Superman, of course, most famously, under his clothes, is wearing his Superman outfit with that big red cape, and he looks perfectly fine. It's just one of those comic book things that's just, you can't think about it too much, otherwise nothing will work.
Right. So she goes off with Batman in the Batmobile, and...
Right. But Robin, again...
Yep.
He was left at police headquarters, but now here's Robin again he's back at the scene. He's got his bat cycle.
Yeah.
And when Batgirl shows up and she's like, "You're going to need help." And he's like, he's like, and even Batman is like, "Well, now wait a minute. I don't need," and she's like, "No, you're going to need help." And it's like, all right. So they go off and Dick, Robin is just standing there by the side of the road going, "Oh, bye."
Yeah.
See ya. I guess I'm not wanted. It's great.
Oh. And the two are quickly knocked out by Joker when they get to this clock factory.
Yes.
We got to move this thing along. It's only 8 minutes and stuff.
Yeah.
They're placed in the gears of the clock tower.
Of course.
Which I did like. I did like that.
It's a good trap. It's a good trap. I mean, it's of course God forbid he just, like he does, like he's wont to do in the comic books, he doesn't beat him with a crowbar. He sets up an elaborate trap that is completely unnecessary and not even part of the plot.
But I did, for all the whole, I guess I'm not... Dick isn't that entirely defeated because we cut back then to Wayne Manor in the meantime, and he's examining his equipment.
Funny, Alfred. My batarang feels wobbly. Wish Batman could help me find out why. Look, Alfred. A tiny lead weight. It threw the batarang off balance.
My word, Master Dick. This will interest Batman.
Look at the bat rope, Alfred. It's been saturated with a liquid that makes it stretch.
How fiendish.
Wait. That drowning man. It was all an act.
While you were struggling, he must have switched utility belts on you.
Right. Alfred, get the bat cycle ready. I'm gonna find Batman.
So with that in mind, he gets another utility belt, heads off to the factory, and rescues the two.
Be with you in a second, buddies.
Move, you clowns! Mind if we drop in on you?
And Robin gets the opportunity to capture Joker.
Yep. All's well that ends well. Robin back on top.
Oh, they're fit to be tied.
Don't go yet, Joker. The party's just starting to swing. Ooh!
Now this one just
See, I'm the other way. I think especially the 8-minute ones. There's an economy of storytelling that goes on that I appreciate, and in some respects, those 8-minute ones are more entertaining than the 2-parters, which sometimes, like I was saying with the Mr. Freeze, felt padded. It's like they added elements that weren't necessary to the story that distract from the story. Here, 8 minutes, boom, 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 everything happens. You've got a premise. It moves along very quickly. I have no problem with it. I also like, you get your Batgirl. They even managed to give, all 3 of the characters something to do, in 8 minutes. I have no complaints.
all right. So for both of us though, these 2 stories were a mixed bag.
Yes, yeah. That is for sure.
We're not as solid as we were with the first episode.
Correct.
Yeah. Now, mind you, saying all that, next time we get together and do this, but again, once again, here we are. We're going to be doing a 2-part Joker and a 1-part Penguin. Yeah.
I mean, they went with what was the most popular. I mean, even today. I mean, how do you not use the Joker? I mean, when you have a series of 17 episodes, and I don't know, whether they knew how many they were ultimately going to have and how it all played out. I can't blame them for using the Joker, the Penguin, the Riddler, Catwoman, and Mr. Freeze. I would have liked to have seen more. And as the series goes along, we do get more diversity in terms of the villain selection. But I even though it's a little, you're right, it's a little repetitive. I can't blame them for going to what's the most successful.
Yeah, no, I agree. So as we come to the end of the episode here, Dan, you're continuing your quest here to also talk about Batman 66 over at 13th Dimension, right?
Yeah, actually, I made a note that on the when the 50th anniversary year ended back in January, that, well, here we are, the 50th anniversary year is over. Not like I'm going to stop talking about it, though, because there's always something to write about and to talk about. And just recently, we had our interviews with Lee Merriweather, for example, and the merchandise keeps coming. It's just every time I think that that the license is starting to peter out, there's a whole new thing that we didn't expect. So there's always stuff to write about. And sometimes there's just things that never occurred to me to write about or talk about. So there's always something. So for those of you who are listening who aren't Batman 66 fans and are listening because this is Filmation and you're a Filmation fan, we write about animation, we write about all things Batman and things that are. And Batman's only about half of it. I mean, I write about Batman because it's what I love, but we do a ton of other stuff as well.
And that's over at 13thdimension.com. So, folks, that's going to do it then for this episode. Until next time, thank you so much for listening. Once again, citizens, Dan, take care, everybody.
Thanks, John.
Thanks for listening, chums. I don't have a bat phone, but you can contact the Batcave Podcast through its Facebook page, Twitter, email at thebatcavepodcast@gmail.com. Subscribe to the podcast via Libsyn.com, that's LIBSYN.com, or through iTunes. The Batcave Podcast is part of a series of pop culture podcasts from the Chronic Rift Network. Find them at chronicrift.com. So until next time, citizens, same bat time, same Batcave Podcast.